Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here with the Get Up and Go Challenge. Today we're going to talk about, it's day one of our challenge, 5-day free challenge to help you to get up and go, to take you from where you are now to where you want to be, to give you the tool, the foundation, the framework, the fundamentals that you need to handle any crisis, any challenge, anything that comes up in your life that is a roadblock or something that you need to deal with, and deal with in a way that makes your life better after that challenge than before. I want to equip you with the tool, my number one way of ensuring and guaranteeing that I am better off after the COVID-19 pandemic than I was before the pandemic. And I'm teaching you and everybody else I know and I can get my hands on how to do the same thing, because the truth is it's entirely up to us how we weather this storm, how we respond to this challenge, how we go forward, how we show up in the world. It's up to us. We can cower and hide and be afraid and listen to the media and be doubtful and anxious and worried and fret about everything that's going on, or we can listen and understand and then set the right path for us. Because ultimately, yeah, there'll be some government help, there'll be some systems and things that go in place, but bottom line is it's up to each and every one of us individually to manage our own experience through this particular pandemic, through this time, just like it is through any time. My name is Sharon Horne-Ellstrom. I am no stranger to crisis and challenges and dilemmas. I have been in business for 47 years in like at least 27 different businesses, and the ups and downs that go with each of those businesses in different industries. I spent 25 years in corporate America working for some of the coolest, most amazing companies in the world. And through that, I learned the trials and tribulations of climbing the corporate ladder and being a good employee, being a good citizen, and how to fit into that and how to then transfer that information into running my own businesses. And a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to join the online world and all of the pitfalls and the challenges that go along with creating an online business after you're used to spending decades in the offline world. And you know, some of it's easy and some of it is way, way harder than I ever thought it was going to be. So how do we get up and go? How do we, when we're faced with a challenge, what do we do? How do we respond to that? I admit I wasn't always great at dealing with challenges and dealing with crises. You know, when you're young and you don't have a lot of experience handling problems and handling difficult situations, it can be overwhelming. It can be really, really hard. And you know, when I was younger, I had a great childhood. I didn't have a lot of big challenges and big hurdles to get over, little disappointments, and I did have health challenges. I've always, not always, but as long and as far back as I can remember, I've had challenges with tonsillitis and infections and inflammatory type things. And that was like the normal childhood stuff, but I remember almost always having tonsillitis. And so I sounded like a rusty gate hinge, so kids would tease me about that. And those were little challenges, and my parents helped me to deal and cope with those kind of things. Then in my 20s, I actually got really, really sick and had all kinds of systemic challenges that lasted and had me bedridden for about 3 years. And I started during that, it was, of course, you know, when you can't do things with your friends when you're, you know, young, older teenager, young 20s, and you're not allowed to do the things that other people do because you can't get out of bed. There's a lot of things psychologically and mindset wise that go along with that, in addition to all the medical things and the physical things and the symptoms and the medication and everything. And it took me 3 years to get to the point where I decided something had to change. My doctors all sort of released me simultaneously and said, hey, we've tried everything we can do for you. We can't figure out exactly what's wrong with you, so we'll see you in 6 months, you're on your own. So I was looking at being bedridden in a dark room because of migraines and inflammation and eye problems and rheumatoid arthritis challenges and inflammation in all the joints of my body, and not being able to do anything for another 6 months. And I got really despondent, and I would say depressed, but I've since taken the word depression out of my vocabulary because I realized it wasn't serving me. And I don't even remember what flipped the switch for me because it's been so long now, but at some point I decided and realized that if anything was going to change in my life, I was going to have to be the one to change it. Yep, my doctors cared about me, but they didn't care about me as much as I cared about me. They couldn't help me anymore because I was counting on them, and I was putting all of my faith in them curing me. And if they just could diagnose what was wrong with me and cure me, then everything would be okay. Well, come to find out that that's not the way it was working. It wasn't going to work that way for me. So I need to figure something else out. So I actually did something that probably my doctors would not have recommended. My parents, my family didn't recommend. But I just went cold turkey on all the medications that they were giving me. I just stopped taking all of them. I figured, I could at least stop taking them for a while, and if I needed to take them again, I could take them. But for the most part, I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to understand why I felt so terrible and why I was in so much agony and pain. So I stopped taking everything, and within a few days, my body, probably a few months, but my body cleaned out all the steroids and all the anti-inflammatories and all the medicines that were making this massive cocktail of messiness in my body that was actually causing more problems than what was wrong with me in the first place. So I was having more side effects, known effects from medication than from what was, whatever was wrong in my body. And my body was spending so much time and energy fighting off the side effects of the medications that it couldn't spend any time making me better and healing me and fixing what was really wrong with me. So by taking myself off of all those medications and not taking them, I actually started to get better. I actually started to have small gaps of time in between the pain where I could do something. So this is a huge challenge I had to overcome. And there have been more. I've had lots of challenges in my life, in business and in my life and in relationships, every area and aspect of my life. I've had at least one big wake-up call and challenge like that. And it led me to say, okay, I need to go on a journey to figure out how do you deal with challenges and obstacles and things that come up, especially unexpected. When I got sick in my my early 20s, I think I was 21, I had never had an experience where I was knocked out of my entire life, kind of like most people are feeling right now, right? We've been all simultaneously knocked out of our entire life, and we're having to figure out how to navigate the waters. How do we run and work our life now given this new set of parameters? And that's what this challenge will help you do. It'll help you to figure out how do you get up and go and keep moving forward toward what it is that you want, what it is that your life is about. How do you take care of yourself and your family and your business and your friends and your relationships and everything during this totally chaotic, bumped up alongside the head thing that has happened to not each of us individually, but to all of us. And it has. Normally, when I was going through and when we're each going through a challenge, it's very personal and specific for us. My health challenges were my health challenges, and I felt very much like I was the only one going through that and I was alone. And the difference with COVID-19 is that millions and millions and millions, if not billions of us, are all being impacted simultaneously by the same root cause. The COVID-19 is the root cause of all this change and upheaval. And so there's kind of a blessing in that. At least there's a sense of camaraderie in that, hey, we're separately handling this, but we're all in this together. We're all in the same thing together. And what I hope to see is that this pandemic brings us all closer together, doesn't tear us apart. However, the evidence and the jury is still out on this. I know my home state has opened up, and it is kind of like a free-for-all, at least in my hometown. I live in a border town between a state that's open and a state that's closed, and our state opened up, and it's crazy. I was downtown yesterday, and there are about 50 to 1 car from our area. It's almost all people from the neighboring state, which is, of course, by a city that has had one of the worst COVID outbreaks, or the worst in their state, and now they're all coming over to ours. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting, but that's another challenge that each and every one of us have to determine. How do we navigate this? I personally have a compromised immune system, so I need to be more careful and take more precautions than other people do. I have to take, and another 2 of my sisters, there's 3 of us that we just need to be more careful than our 4th sister, because she's not immune compromised. She doesn't have the challenges, or hasn't had the health challenges that the 3 of us have had. So what she can do and how she's approaching the whole situation is different than how my sisters and I are approaching it. It's different than how my daughter and her husband and my son are approaching it. And each one of us, even though we're all being impacted by COVID-19 and every person that I interact with is being changed by COVID-19, it's different for each one of us. And so that's why we need a system or a framework for handling crisis, for handling dilemmas, for handling challenges, for handling problems. But it has to be flexible enough that it will apply to any type of situation that comes up. Because I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I guarantee this will not be the last challenge that you face in your life. It will not be the last crisis or the last dilemma or the last problem or failure or situation that you need to figure out how to navigate and how to navigate it successfully. Because our goal in every situation, no matter how bad it is, especially when it's outside of us and we don't have control, is how can we best make sure that we end up better off for having had this experience, right? All of our experiences, the main purpose of them, for at least me, is that I want to make sure I learn a lesson and that I come out having learned that lesson. Otherwise, what did I go through all the pain and trials and tribulations and trauma for? If I don't learn anything from it, guess what? I'm destined to repeat that again. Here's how I know that, and I can't believe I didn't notice it, but over the years, I like to do, and maybe we'll talk about it later in the week, a life regression or a life timeline. I like to do a timeline of my life. I learned this from a training that I had at Procter & Gamble, my first job out of college, my first career move out of college. And what you do is you go back and you just, note all of the high points and the low points in your life so far. And you see, kind of how they go. And it's really interesting. Everybody's life graph is different. But I did this following my sudden cardiac arrest. I had a sudden cardiac arrest in 2010 and actually left the planet for a while. I died, right? But fortunately for me, I went down in a place in one of my businesses where the bartender knew CPR and could keep me going until the police came with the little defibrillator, hooked me up and jump started me, and then took me to the hospital where I got frozen in a coma for, I don't know, probably a week or so, and then I was awakened. Well, when I went after that, I knew I needed to make massive lifestyle changes. And so part of my massive lifestyle changes were years of learning about human beings and why we think things and how things work for us, and how to make my life work better, because you don't die unless there's a whole lot of stuff going on in your life that's off for you. So I started researching and looking into that. Why did this happen to me? And part of that was that life regression exercise. And I did that. And I noticed that the three major stop points in my life with respect to my health had been right around Labor Day. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that 3 times I'd had huge major health challenges and issues, that they were all around Labor Day. It was a message to me that I needed to change direction what I was doing and what I was focusing on and where I was going with what I was doing. So there's exercises like that we'll cover quickly this week. Not long ones, but brief ones that you can do that really make a massive difference and help you to see what's going on in your own life. Because guess what? We tend to have blinders on with respect to our own lives. We're our own worst critics, but we're also our own biggest protectors, in terms that our subconscious is 100% wired to keep us safe. And if it doesn't want us to see something that it thinks is going to upset us or keep us unsafe, it will not let us see it. So we will have something right in front of our eyes that we won't do or we won't see, or an opportunity that we won't take advantage of, because our subconscious wants to just keep us right where we are, safe, never changing, never doing anything different, because we haven't died yet. We're still here after how many ever days we've been alive, and so it knows it's been doing its job, so it's just going to keep doing the same thing until or unless something comes along that impacts us or wakes us up or shakes us out of our normal routine enough that we have to look at what's going on in our life, that we have to pay attention, and that we have to make change. So the next 5 days are all about you. They're for you to understand how you deal with change, how you deal with challenges, because challenges just invite change, right? Challenges create change. The word pivot, everybody's using the word pivot right now, but pivot just means change. It means I need to look at what I'm doing, and do I keep doing what I'm doing, or do I need to make a slight change to it? Do I need to make a slight pivot to it? So we do this by doing a couple of things. The first thing that I want us to do, our first exercise, and I'm going to jump right to that, because I want to make sure that you get a chance to do this. There are 7 main areas of our life that we do have to pay at least a little bit of attention to, or they will scream loud enough to get our attention. For me, it was my health. I paid really good attention to my health for a while, and then I stopped doing it, and I got a huge wake-up call. I paid attention to my health, and I stopped doing it, and I got a huge wake-up call. I didn't pay any attention to my health for quite a while, and that's when I had the sudden cardiac arrest. I was busy running through my life, not paying at all attention to my health, and I got that wake-up call. Well, there's 7 areas of our life like that we need to pay attention to. Our physical well-being and our health. I swear that if you don't have that, okay, that will be the one that you get the biggest wake-up call. You'll get a sudden cardiac arrest. You'll get a diagnosis. You'll have accidents. Something will happen to tell you, you need to pay attention to me. You need to feed me. You need to give me sleep. You need to give me water. You need to give me nutrients. You need to think good thoughts about me. I'm talking about your body. Or I am going to make sure that you do. At some point, you're going to ignore me long enough, and then I'm going to give you a wake-up call, and you're going to pay attention to me. At least that's what's happened in my health and in my physical well-being. And if we don't have our health, guess what? We don't have anything else, because our health and our physical body are the energy that drive everything else in our life. So if you're spending all your time like I was, running after and chasing after money and business and other world success according to what other people think you should do, you might end up like me. You might end up getting a full stop, because we can't pay all of our attention to one of these 7 areas of our life at the detriment of the others. So what are those 7 areas? Our physical body, our mental health, our spiritual health, our emotional health, our financial health, our relationships, and our contribution. How we show up in the world, what we're putting out in the world, what we're giving out I see as contribution. So each of these 7 areas needs some sort of attention. So our assignment today, our action item today, and I'm going to talk a little bit more after this, but I want to give you the action item right now. I want you to look at each of those areas of your life, and I'm going to cover mine up, but I actually did this, and I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How do you think you're doing in that area of your life? Now, a lot of people, their finances went from like a 7 or an 8 down to like a 1, right? Because you lost your job, your business has been shut down, you haven't had any money coming in for a couple of months. Everybody's situation's different. But all I want you to do is want you to look at those 7 areas and then give each one a number from 1 to 10. 10 being, of course, awesome, your ultimate goal, exactly how you want it to be. So I will never be a 10 physically. I just won't. I will never be a 10 for my physical well-being, because a 10 to me is like somebody that's a professional athlete, or an athlete, or an Olympian, or whatever, or somebody that's at the prime shape of their life, and they are maintaining that. Mental, spiritual, this is subjective, of course. It's up to you to decide where you're at on this. I mean, I've done this with people, and they give themselves a 9 in everything, and I think about their life compared to mine, which is what we should never do. And I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not a 9 in any area, and I'm not. I don't think I am right now, at this moment in history, a 9 in any area of my life, because I know how much work I want to do and where I want my life to be, and I am in the midst of going through a huge transition. I was recently divorced, and we just have been working through all of that. So there's a lot of areas in my life that are like juggling balls and up in the air. But that's what your assignment is today. Your action item is to just do this, and then in the comments below, I want you to just share the one area that you want to work on throughout this challenge. I want you to pick one of those 7 areas, and as we go through the challenge exercises each day, I want you to do it just with that aspect or that area of your life. So if I were going through this and I wanted to work on my physical well-being, which is probably maybe the one I'll take, because that's the one that's one of the areas where I know I need to do some work, and I have had some pandemic pudges and pandemic slips, and the COVID-15, they're calling it. Everybody's gaining 15 pounds, like when you go off to college and you gain weight. I did that too, the freshman 15 and the COVID-15, sort of the same thing. So pick one area. Just pick one area and share it in the comments below. I would love if you would go live on video, Facebook Live. You can go live in the group and just introduce yourself and say, hey, my biggest area of emphasis is, and you don't have to say what you rated it, it's totally up to you, is going to be physical. It's going to be relationships, because guess what? We've been spending way too much time together, and it's highlighted some of the areas in our relationships where we have not been really serving one another well. Or maybe it's finances because you've lost your job, your wife's lost her job, or your wife's working from home and you've lost your job. Whatever your situation, you don't have to explain it. Just pick the one area you want to work on through this challenge and share that in the comments below. Now, a couple other things. What the heck? Why would you even want to do a challenge? Why do you want to do challenges? I personally freaking love challenges. I've done thousands of them. Thousands, literally. I've been doing challenges since before they were even a thing. I didn't even know that they were called challenges. I just was doing little improvement things, mostly to help my own life, and then I was just bringing people along for the journey and sharing it with them. So I've done stress challenges and fun challenges, happiness challenges, things that scare you. I've done 365-day challenges. I've done 5-day challenges. I've done 3-day challenges. I've done not only thousands of my own, but I've done dozens and dozens of other people's challenges. And I've learned a lot along the way. But why do I do them? Well, because following that sudden cardiac arrest, I set a goal for myself that I was going to exercise every day for a year. I was going to do something physical on purpose, which for me was like night and day, black and white. My family, I told them, and they were like, there's no way, you can't do that. You're setting yourself up for failure. All the things we get when we tell people we've got a big goal, right? And for me, coming from me at that time, just coming out of a sudden cardiac arrest, to say I was going to exercise every day for a year, nobody believed that I would do it and that I could do it. I had, lots and lots of naysayers. But I set the challenge for myself. I committed to it, and I said, I'm going to do this no matter what. I got to tell you, there were a couple of days when it was 11 o'clock at night and I hadn't done my exercise because I was doing something else during that day, and I got on my treadmill or my exercise bike and I did it every single day for that year, and then several years beyond, actually 8.5, until I had another health challenge that knocked me off and put me in bed for a while. But I like challenges because I know that if I set a goal, a challenge, and I commit to it, I'm going to do everything it takes to make sure that I keep my word to myself. I wasn't always dead set on keeping my word to myself. I would promise and do things and say I was going to do things, and then sometimes I'd have excuses, and I'd make excuses why I couldn't do it, or why something got in the way, or why I was late, or whatever. Then I realized that you can convince other people of why you can't do something or make excuses to them, but if you're just making excuses, you yourself know. You know if you could have done it and you just chose not to for whatever reason. And I'll admit, even now, after years and years of exercising every day, I still catch myself standing at the thing and running through, I don't really want to go walk today because of this, or this, or it's kind of cloudy out, or it's raining, or whatever. And I still will catch myself, and I have to remind myself, no, you committed to yourself that you were going to do this, so just suck it up and go do it. And then as soon as I take that first step out the door, no matter what, I have won, and I always feel better about myself. Every time we keep our word to ourselves, it reinforces our self-esteem and our confidence. Every time we break our word to ourselves, it eats away at us a little bit, and other people might not notice, but I guarantee your subconscious and your soul notices, right? And that's what's most important, is how we're experiencing this life. It doesn't matter how anyone else is experiencing it, how anybody else feels about our life. All that matters is how we feel about our life, right? Only you are an expert in you. Only I know what feels good to me and what's right for me. And so we need to honor and be true to that. So, done gazillions of challenges, and I do them for a lot of reasons. Number one, it helps me commit and be true to my word. It helps me get a fast result. It helps me get a measurable result. If I'm committing to something and focusing on it, I'm much more likely to actually achieve it than if I'm just giving it a half-hearted or a half-assed effort. They're fast, they're easy, they're convenient. It's a quick way to determine if something is right for you or not, if you're headed in the right direction or not. It's a great way to show people that you're serious about something. It's a great way to guarantee that you're going to get the result that you want in a really short period of time. You can accomplish things in days that take people years to do. You can make decisions in seconds and commitments in seconds that other people will commiserate over for actually years and sometimes decades. So from that standpoint, I love, love, love challenges. I like to think that my challenges are based on some pillars, some foundational beliefs. And you have to think about these and decide, what are your core beliefs? What are your core foundational things that you operate on? For me, one of them is that everybody just needs to be themselves. They need to be their own authentic self. You got to be you. I've got to be me. And I have to be okay with that. I have to love who I am. You have to love who you are. And you have to show up as you and as only you uniquely can. Because if you don't own your life and your processes and your experiences and what you're doing and what you're choosing and thinking and believing and being in your life, nobody else is going to do it for you. There are so many things that absolutely no one else on the planet can do for us. You know, I always thought it was interesting about motivation and feedback and things from other people. Those are all external things. They don't really matter. All that really matters is what is internal to you. We're each here to experience this life as only we uniquely can, and as such, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. There's no sense comparing ourselves to other people, because guess what? You only see the tip of the iceberg of them. They only see the tip of the iceberg of you, and what really matters is all of you, right? Not just and all of your experiences. We all come into this world with nothing, and we're all leaving with nothing. All that we're going to have is the experiences that we've had while we're here, the relationships, the things we've done, the way we felt, the way we've engaged with things or not engaged with things. So that's a big one for me. Another one, be yourself, be loving, love being, be you. That came out of my my sudden cardiac arrest, some of the learning and things I did after that. That just was a clear message to me that I was not being myself. I wasn't even on the right path for me, but I wasn't being true to myself. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, doing everything that everybody else thought I should do, and not really doing the things that I knew were right for me and that I should do. One of the other pillars and one of the other foundational things for me is that I want to give value to people. I want to make sure that I'm giving way more than I'm receiving, and I want to help people in any way that I possibly can. A sense of giving and helping other people and wanting to make the world a better place. I expect the people that I attract, the people that join me in my challenges, the people that interact and do business with me, feel the same way, that they're here to be of service to the world, to give value to the world, to give, not just to take. There's givers and there's takers in the world and in the planet. The takers, go have at it. Have fun. Do what you're going to do, but I'm not going to be the one that's working with you and interacting with you. I want to work with people, and I sense that you do too if you're here with me, that want to make the world a better place, that want to give value to people, that know we have gifts and things that we can give to people. I also operate from a philosophy of lifelong learning and continuous improvement, and that we're going to do stuff, we're going to try stuff. It's not going to be right or good or even, it's definitely not going to be perfect right out of the gate. We're going to have to test and tweak and continuously improve and adjust for the rest of our life. We're not going to decide we're going to do something, do it, it's going to be perfect the first time, and then we never have to do anything or change anything else. How boring would that be, right? So we want to have a philosophy of continuous improvement, continuous personal growth and develop, and knowing that taking action, imperfect action, is always going to be better than sitting and waiting for the time to be right or the environment or the stars to align or whatever. It's better to take a step every single day toward what we want than to sit and wait for something to happen around us or wait and just react to everything that is happening around us. The people that are thriving through this pandemic right now so far, every single one that I talk to, it's because they're taking action. They're still moving forward in their life. They're still doing something. And even if they can't do what they're used to doing because their business or their job is shut down, they're reading, they're learning, they're growing, they're studying, they're curious about something, and they're looking into something that they're curious about. They're learning and moving forward, knowing that our world and life might not be the same. They might not go back to their same job. Their business might not survive this. Depending on your business situation, I think we're going to have a massive shift in the way the world works going forward, and we need to be prepared for that. We need to know that we are going to be able to take care of ourselves and those we love to care about. And the other thing is, I like to build my life on a solid foundation. It's just like when you build a house. If you build on marshy ground, guess what? It sinks. We used to have a cabin that was on the marshy side of the lake, and every couple of years we used to have the guys come in and jack it up and rebuild underneath the foundation, or it was going to sink right into the lake. And the same is true of our lives. If we build our life on a weak or no foundation, if it's all superfluous, if it's all hacks and tips and tricks and strategies, if we build our business on that, just like if we build our life on superficial relationships, we're bound to get hurt because everything's going to crumble and fall. If no matter what we build, we want to have a solid foundation first, and then we start to add things on it. We add the fundamentals. We do the things that we know work every single time, and that's what I'm going to teach you in this Get Up and Go challenge. I'm going to teach you the soap. I call it soap. I actually have a bar of soap, and I'm going to teach you that process that you can use not only now, immediately, but that you can use for the rest of your life. Because like some of the tools and things that I've learned that I've used my entire life, I want you to have access to those tools and them to be in your toolbox too, so that you always, no matter what to do, so you always know what to do no matter what happens to you. No matter what happens around you, you'll know what to do. So say we get the zombie apocalypse next, you'll be prepared and you'll know what to do because you'll have learned this process, and the soap process will be the foundation for you. So COVID-19 will be the biggest challenge you've ever had in your life, or maybe something will happen to you that challenges you further, that you will forever be grateful that you have this process to help you through. So today, end of day one, I'm going to stop pontificating and let you get to work. Look at the 7 areas of your life: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relationships, financial, and contribution. Rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. Just share in the comments below the one area that you want to work on throughout this challenge. I am going to say, I'll decide tonight. I don't know which one I'm going to do. I've done physical before, but so maybe I'll do something different this time, just for the practice and the fun of it. That's it. Have an amazing day. If I can help you in any way, ask in the comments below. We're going to have a Q&A section on Saturday, so start collecting your questions and get them ready for the Q&A session on Saturday. I want to make sure everybody gets their specific questions answered. If you have any questions about today, hit me up, and I will make sure that they get answered today as well. Take care, have an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow for day 2 of the Get Up and Go challenge. Get up and go. You got this.